Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session for creating a culture of quality. I am Karishma Prasad, and just a little bit about myself. I have 14 years experience in the industry. So I started with retail, then I went into oil and gas. And I just recently finished off with the supply chain. So it is indeed a pleasure for me to be working with MBS now and sharing my knowledge on quality. And today will be a delightful session because we will learn a few things about quality standards and how to create quality culture. Now, before we start, let me run some values with you guys. According to research by the American Society of Quality, it showed that for every $1 that you spend on your QMS, you could expect to see an additional $6 in revenue. A $16 reduction in cost and a $3 increase in profits. On average, they saw that quality management systems reduced the cost by 4.8%. Now, these are value numbers that I need you to keep at the back of your mind while we're going through the session. Let's move on and see the objectives for today. Now today, firstly, we will learn the definition of quality culture. We will understand the elements that are needed to create a quality culture. We're also going to learn about ISO standards. We're going to spend some time and look at the Six Sigma concept. And what we're going to focus on is the DMAIC method. We're going to also touch a little bit on risk management. Please note, this session is only a brief overview of our upcoming intensive program. So let's begin by looking at the definition of quality culture. Now, you can define quality culture in various ways. I have some definitions that you can have a look now. The first one, it is an environment where team members genuinely care about their work. So there's care and concern about quality across all levels in the organization. It is a personal commitment, not just to meet compliance, but it is to show the passion that we as employees and employers have towards our role. The next one, in order to create a quality culture, it is about making a product safe and effective for end users. Now, I have worked in the life science and healthcare sector, and I've dealt with various pharmaceutical manufacturers. When they are manufacturing the drugs, they must ensure that it is for the well-being of the patient who is waiting for the drug at the end of the supply chain line. Therefore, they run a lot of clinical trials before a drug is even allowed to enter the market. A very good example of something that we all can relate to is the COVID-19 vaccine. The last definition of quality culture that I have on the screen is it promotes process improvement initiatives. Now, to achieve ultimate quality standards, a business must allow opportunity to process improve in all their areas. There was a famous professor in Tokyo. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. He was called Professor Ishikawa, and he was called the father of quality circles. He has given us 7 tools that businesses can use to start their process improvement journey. I can tell you the 7 tools are cause and effect diagram, checklist, control charts, histogram, Pareto charts, scatter diagrams, and stratification. Now, all these tools, keep this in mind as well, because we will discuss in depth in our internship workshops as well. Now, I'd like to invite you to a moment of reflection. I would like you to think of the question that you see on the screen. It reads, how to define the quality, how to define the value of quality in your own personal lifestyles. And you can look at the reasoning why. Now, if you want, you can close your eyes so you can focus. Are you thinking about your family and friends, the people you network with day in, day out, all the social events that you have been going to recently during Easter break, the picnics and the barbecue? Or are you thinking about the healthcare systems? And for some of us, right, we have even moved countries to have accessible to quality healthcare system. I'm an example myself. I have personally moved from Fiji to Australia for the same reason. Or are you thinking about your education qualifications and how hard you have worked to achieve it? Let it be your diploma, your degree, your postgrad, master's, or PhD. Or are you thinking about your digital gadgets, all that you own and all that you want to own? Some of us are already thinking of buying the iPhone 13, which will be launched later this year. Or are you thinking about all your holiday destinations that you have been to and all the destinations left on your bucket list that you will go to once the borders open? We all have reflected on various values that we think are relevant to us. Now, let me highlight some basic principles of maintaining quality in your personal lives. So how to improve your life's quality? Number one, maintain healthy relationship. This directly links to your family and friends, workmates, people you see in your 24/7 life. Healthy relationships promotes good mental health. So according to research, a good mental health promotes happiness, life satisfaction, and reduces the risk of suicide. Now, this is my favorite point. In order to improve your life's quality, you must aim to get a good night's sleep. I personally have a ritual of sleeping. I would like to sleep for more than 7 to 8 hours because I do understand the quality of my sleep directly impacts the quality of my life. When I wake up from a good night's rest, I'm energized, productive during the day. I have a good emotional balance, and I also tend to be more creative. It is also by research said to be a good aid in weight loss. The third one, to improve your life's quality, you need to get moving. You need to exercise. Exercise has a positive impact on your emotional and mental health. It doesn't only help you lose weight, but it takes care of your anxiety, fears, and improves your memory and helps us to sleep better. So kudos to everyone who is aiming to do 10,000 steps per day. The next one is when we want to improve our life's quality, we need to find meaning in our work life. Now, the career we choose becomes part of our identity because we spend like more than 8 hours a day at work. For example, you can be a banker, you can be a teacher, doctor, social worker, cleaner, mechanic, a pastor, or hold a management position in a private company. Working in a role that is meaningless may form to be a challenge to your mental health. Whichever role you do, we can always restructure it to find meaning and make your work life very enjoyable. Now, building quality work culture not only empowers us as employees, but helps us to find meaning in our work life. But sometimes as employees and employers, we should ask ourselves this question. Are we able to identify these quality standards at work? Okay, so I'm going to run a short poll now for 60 seconds. You will see a question pop up on your screen. I appreciate if you can pick an appropriate answer. So the question reads, are you familiar with the quality standards in your workplace? You have 60 seconds. Please pick an appropriate answer that speaks to you the most. Okay, great. I saw some responses pop in. Thanks for it. And it was good to see that most of you were able to say yes. So fantastic. You're always able to pick up the quality standards that the workforce have implemented for you. So you are quite empowered at your workplace already. Now let's move on and see 5 essential ingredients required to create a quality culture. Now, the first ingredient you need is a mentality of togetherness. A mentality of togetherness is when a company does not only care about the buildings and the assets, but one that acknowledges a win-win situation for the customers, the suppliers, and their own employees. So the brand that they always show is like, we are in this together. The next one is a very essential ingredient, which is an open and honest conversation. This culture allows people to truly express their opinions and ideas. It promotes communication and results in employers and also employees to function at their best. The third one is where information is accessible. Now we all know, right? Information is key when running a business. Business leaders should be open in sharing information about the company's goals, values, next steps, direction, the company's heading. With that, the employees should always have access to SOPs, which are standard operating procedures to help them know their job scope. The fourth ingredient is we should be focused on processes. So we have all worked in a workplace where we have been blaming the person when something goes wrong. So there should be a shift from blame the person to blame the process, because it cultivates a quality culture and promotes process improvement initiatives. The last and the fifth ingredient that I have is that they are only learning experiences. When we realize that there's no success, there's no failure, and only learning experience, we eliminate the concept of value judgment. Organizations must be able to learn from their current experiences and develop learning lessons for the future. Now, I hope that you are able to relate to some of the pointers that I have just shared, and ask yourself this question every time you deliver an operational process. Do I have the mix of the ingredients to deliver quality product and services to the target audience? So let me just repeat the question. Do I have the mix of the ingredients to deliver quality products and services to the target audience? Now, quality culture, right, starts from leadership, and it moves along all the processes and the systems, and it goes to the satisfaction of the customer. In order to provide standards, we have global standards that companies abide by. So before we go on to look at the global standards that we have, let's have another poll quickly. So this is also asking a question about ISO standards. It reads, which of the following ISO standards are you familiar with? Now you also have 60 seconds to answer once the poll pops up on our screen. Just hold on a minute, it should be coming up shortly. While the poll pops up, right, we can just think about this question and reflect on it. Do you know any ISO standards that you're familiar with? So some of the options that I can give you is ISO 9001, ISO 14001, ISO 27000, ISO 22000, ISO 5000, or you can just say, I don't know this. So, just think about, do you know any of these standards? Now,
there is a problem with the polling, so could you please
I'll continue
use the chat?
Okay. So we will use the chat for this question. Great. So all our participants know a little bit about ISO standards. Now, for those who do not know what ISO actually means, right? ISO actually stands for International Organization of Standardization. These guys are the ones who provide the formula for best practices for industries. Approximately worldwide, they have given us more than 21,000 standards for different industries to use. Now, because this session is very small, we are not going to discuss all the 21,000. We are only going to look at the 5 ISO standards that are very common. Okay, so the first ISO standard, like I said, is ISO 9001. This ISO standard is very generic, and it was first implemented in 1987. It can be used for any organization and any industry, and the focus of this standard is that it provides better quality services and products. It is very much customer focused. The next one is ISO 14001. This standard provides guidelines for environments only. This establishes the requirements for EMS. Now, EMS is Environment Management System. Currently, there are over 170 countries that are actually using this standard. The next one is ISO 27000. Now, this family of standards are concerns with information technology, meaning it continuously improves and provides. You can ignore the poll now. Okay, so let's continue. So ISO 27000 is a family of standards for information technology, as I was saying. So it only provides it not only provides control IT management system documents, but emphasizes on having system technical documents and user code of conduct in place. Now, the next one we have is ISO 22000. This one is very basic. It concerns us all because it is about food safety, management. So it is applied to all organizations and industries that are in the food chain. It concerns how food travels from the farm to the fork. Now this company, right, it's able to show their customers that good food management is in place starting from the suppliers to the end of the supply chain. Hence, it is there to build customer confidence. The last one today that we're going to see is ISO 13485. This is the main quality management system in medical devices. I have personally worked in warehouses where this ISO standard was implemented, and to support this, we had so many SOPs in place. Now you may ask the question, how does a company get ISO certified? So if you can see on your screen right now, there are 7 phases to actually get an organization to be eligible for ISO certification. First phase, setup and preparation. Second phase, evaluation. Then we move on to documentation, running on operations, review. And then on the 6th phase, you actually get ISO certified. However, on the 7th phase is where maintenance is crucial, and hence it talks about how you're going to sustain your ISO certification. So basically the steps that I've said does not actually tell you how to obtain it, but how to sustain it. Now, when we are running our intensive programs, we are going to deep dive into each of the phases that you can see, and we're going to run through every process that is involved in the completion of each phase. Now, to fulfill the quality management system in our workplaces, right, the ISO standards can be easily integrated with the concept of Six Sigma. So before we move on to Six Sigma, right, I just want to understand if you do understand what Six Sigma is. So let's see another poll that will pop up on your screen shortly. Take your time. You have 60 seconds to think about this as well. So the question reads, do you understand the concept of Six Sigma? Okay, great. My participants are very fast today, which is really good. Okay, so some of us did pick a yes. It is good to see that you're familiar with the Six Sigma concept. Some of us picked a maybe, but do not worry. In the next following slides, we're going to look at how Six Sigma actually functions in quality management system. Now, before we move on, right, I just want to make you understand what does Six Sigma mean. Six Sigma actually provides data-driven method that has the tools for continuous process improvement. Now, Six Sigma can be applied to any process, and the common tool that we use in Six Sigma is a tool called DMAIC. A DMAIC is a common tool because it provides step-by-step process evaluation. Now, moving on, let's see what DMAIC is by breaking it down further. Okay, so DMAIC is basically an essential tool that you have in Six Sigma, right? DMAIC actually stands for a couple of things. D for define, M for measure, A for analyze, I for improve, and C for control. So when you look at the first one, right, under each letter, there is a little definition of what, or an explanation of what it is all about. So let's see define. Define actually says define the problem, which adds on to say you state the information about the customer, issue, problem, opportunity, goals, resources, and timelines. In businesses right now, if I pick up a project charter document, it could easily define all the values that we're looking at this particular phase. Now, moving on to M. M, measure, which actually means quantify the problem. So you establish a matrix and you measure the baseline performance. Moving on to A, then you start to analyze, meaning that you identify the root cause of the problem. So you compare the current performance to the goal, identify any variations, prioritize improvement opportunities, and investigate the root cause. So once you analyze, right, you must get to the root cause at this particular step. After that, we move on to I for improve, where we implement and verify the solution. So we developed gap closure actions. We test and implement changes based on the root cause analysis that we did in the analyze step. Now, the last step of DMAIC is control. Control simply means to maintain the solution. It talks about sustainability, how to sustain your gains or the values that you have acquired through the process improvement that you did through the DMAIC process. Now, I just want to run the DMAIC with a very simple project that we can all think about and quickly see if we can do DMAIC on that particular project. The project that I'm thinking of right now is called Cleaning Our Garage. Now, once you start cleaning your garage, right, we can start with the D. We need to define the scope. So in simple terms, we can say the scope of this particular process improvement is that we're going to clean the garage and not the whole house. So your scope is very clearly defined. Then you move on to measure. We're going to take our measuring tapes and we're going to start measuring the square footage of the overall garage and of course the open floor plan. We're going to also set a goal from where we're going to start and where we're going to finish the cleaning and organizing. The next thing that we have to do when we are doing the project for cleaning our garage is to analyze. Now, this is very interesting, right? Because at this particular stage, you will understand the types and amounts of things that you currently have in your garage. And you are also going to check out how much storage space is there already. Now, if you come to my garage, right, you will soon realize how much unwanted things I have accumulated over the years. So after that, once we finished analyzing, we're going to start improving. So we are going to clean, we're going to organize, we're going to remove all the things that you don't need from the garage, and you're going to start installing vertical storage facilities to minimize the floor plan that we have. Now we have done so many things. Our garage is neat and tidy, but we still have one more step to go. How do we control it? So how do we sustain the process improvement that we just did? We're going to label all our storage spots that we have. So when we come in the future with anything to put away, we will know exactly where it goes. In addition to that, right, I'm also going to conduct weekly audits in my own garage just to see if I have accumulated any unwanted stuff from my unnecessary runs from Bunnings. So we can see by breaking the scenario of cleaning your garage into the DMAIC methodology, it has made the cleaning process so much easier. And by putting up the labels, we have created a sustainable solution. Now, with the process improvement technique like Six Sigma, I'd also like to incorporate a little bit about risk management. So we are all familiar with the risk. We all analyze the risk in our personal lives daily. If I go for swimming and I get out of the pool wet, I always am very careful because I have a risk of falling and hurting myself. So in our daily lives, we also have risk management technique. What is a risk, if you can ask? A risk is any event that could negatively affect your project timeline, performance, and budget. Therefore, risk management involves potential hazards in your business environment. So you basically are locating all the hazards in your business environment. And once you do that, you are actually managing your risk. From your screen, you can see that you have a couple of steps to manage your risk. You have to first identify your risk. You have to analyze your risk. You have to action your risk. Then you have to keep monitoring. And then, of course, control and your sustainability comes in here. Now, I'm going to very briefly touch into this today because I'm keeping the in-depth knowledge of each of the steps for our intensive programs that's coming up with the Academy. With that, let's see what our intensive workshops will look like. So when we actually get to our full-on intensive workshops, right, we are going to first engage in looking at our professor's 7 improvement tools. So the cause and effect diagram, the checklist, the control charts, the histogram, the Pareto charts, the scatter diagrams, and stratification. We're going to actually use real life business processes to incorporate and see how these tools can be beneficial to your organization. We're going to also, like I said earlier, we're going to deep dive into your ISO certification. So we will learn in detail how to get your organization ISO certified. We might also end up doing a roadmap for you in order for your company to get ISO certified. We'll move on to use the DMAIC methodology as an exercise to use our Six Sigma tool for process improvement. And I encourage every participant will be able to pick up at least 2 processes within the organizations to process improve using this methodology. Later, which the process improvement results are, the organizations can easily implement in the future. Then the last thing we'll do before we finish the workshop, right, we'll look at the risk management. So we will be looking at identifying the risk in your own business operations. We will look at analyzing it, mitigating the risk, and of course, to record the risk, we will be creating a risk register. And once this document is created, it will be given back to the company to use for future risk performances. Now that we have finished our session, let's just go into a little bit of evaluation for this session, and then we'll head to the Q&A. So you might have another poll that will pop up. Great. So okay, great. So I've seen the results of the poll are coming in. Now we're going to open our chat box for Q&A. So if you have any question, please type in there and I will try my best to answer it. Okay, so Gautam is asking, right? I will also, the ISO 41 and 31K, may I ask to add ISO 45K? Definitely yes. When we are doing the full workshops, right, we'll be adding some more ISO standards. So we are able to see all the variations that we have in the market.
I have a question, Karishma.
Yes, Mario.
Achieving ISO certification is not very easy for small organizations.
Yes.
However, looking at the path to the ISO certification, it seems to me that without actually getting the certification, the organization still can start on the quality journey and go through the first 2 or 3 steps and derive business benefits. Am I correct or not?
You are correct, because we still have all these other tools, like we have discussed Six Sigma, DMAIC, and all the tools from our professor that he has said that we can still use and have a compliance, at least what as a company we expect quality as an internal control, we can still use that. So absolutely, you can just keep doing your quality checks internally until you are at a standard to apply for ISO again.
Okay, thank you. So essentially, the content in terms of quality, or the concept of quality, sorry, is applicable to large, medium, and small organizations equally.
The concept of quality is, yeah, you're right. It's applicable to any organization, because all of our organizations have processes. When there is a process, even if it's a simple one, quality management system can be applied to it, because we all can validate the process, right? To what we expect it to be as our performance baseline. So yes, it can be applied to all levels of organizations.
Thank you.
Now, Prashant has a question. Is there a validation period for ISO certifications? Yes, there are validation period for ISO certifications. Once these periods are over, we have audits come in to actually see if the standards are in place, and these will be renewed again. I also have a comment in the by Gautam. Yes, I agree with you. He's sharing that it's always good to have a good practice. So a good quality management system is very much beneficial to you and your organization despite of your size. Yes. Okay, so on average, what is the cost of getting an ISO certified? I will have to get back to you on this one, Prashant. I think it depends on the certification that you're going for. So if I can get back to you on that, that will be great. Yes, Gautam, I'll also include the ISO 19011 in our workshops as well. Any more questions before we close this session? Okay, so let's close this session now. Thank you all for your time today. It was very much appreciated. I look forward to meeting you guys in the intensive programs that we have running with the Academy. And I will pass it back to Mario now to finalize the session.
Thanks, Karishma, and thanks for the great session. I really enjoyed your insights And I think that I was thinking about myself, actually, how we can apply some of them here at MBS Academy. Now, for everyone else, we'll be running very soon a more extensive workshop on quality culture, and the 4 pillars of quality. Keep an eye on our page on LinkedIn, and also on the emails that you will receive from us. And let's not forget the discount codes that are applicable from time to time. We look forward to seeing you at our next session next week, and also at the quality workshop, which will be conducted by Karishma. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye now.